Hello there.
Hello there and welcome all to a new video. Today we will be going over the new patch notes in detail, so sit back and relax and hope you enjoy the video. The first thing we will be discussing is the rework to the upgrading system. Spare parts have been renamed parts and now have 3 different levels now, which are cheap, standard and advanced. Parts and tools can now be obtained through open world activities. Now onto the different places you can obtain these parts. For cheap parts, they can be obtained in all locations from the swamps to the Rostock factory. For standard parts, these can be obtained in the path of Fools, Dead City, Army Warehouse and the Graveyard. For the advanced tools, they can be obtained in Limansk, the Red Forest, Yarnov and Backwater. One downside to this update is that not much information is known on the different events that you can obtain these parts from, so I will be doing more research on this and I will be making a breakdown video of how to obtain these parts in the future. One other added bonus to this update is that you don't need to worry about the parts you already had in your storage, as all spare parts that are currently in the game are exchanged for advanced parts at a 1-to-1 ratio. Now the part you all have been waiting for, the new upgrading system now and how it is reworked. The upgrading system has been fully reworked in a way that benefits the player now, with the addition of the guaranteed equipment upgrade. It is activated after a certain number of attempts. There are also compensations for the parts that you have already used on your gear. Now, here are some examples of how this compensation system works. Example 1. Over the past year, the player has made 150 attempts to improve the Gauss gun and stopped at modification level 12. The sum of all guaranteed improvements under the new system up to level 12 is equal to 190 attempts, that is, more than the sum of all attempts. Therefore, the player does not receive compensation. Example 2. Over the past year, the player has made 260 attempts to improve the Gauss gun and stopped at modification level 13. The sum of all guaranteed improvements under the new system up to level 13 is equal to 240 attempts, that is, less than the sum of all attempts. Therefore, the player receives a difference of 20 attempts in the guaranteed equipment improvement counter. Example 3. Over the past year, the player has made 170 attempts to improve the Gauss gun and stopped at modification level 10. The sum of all guaranteed improvements under the new system up to level 10 is equal to 115 attempts, that is, less than the sum of all attempts. Therefore, the player receives a difference of 55 attempts in the guaranteed equipment improvement counter. However, the difference of 55 attempts is greater than the number of attempts until the guaranteed upgrade to the next 11th level. Therefore, the Gauss cannon will automatically receive +1 modification level and 20 attempts in the guaranteed equipment upgrade counter. Example 4. Over the past year, the player has made 380 attempts to improve the Gauss gun and stopped at modification level 14. The sum of all guaranteed improvements under the new system up to level 14 is equal to 300 attempts, that is, less than the sum of all attempts. Therefore, the player receives a difference of 80 attempts in the guaranteed equipment improvement counter. However, the difference of 80 attempts is greater than the number of attempts until the guaranteed upgrade to the next 15th level, and therefore the Gauss cannon will automatically receive a +1 upgrade level, and the player will receive 10 advanced tools and 20 advanced spare parts. Now onto how the changes to tools work. The functionality of cheap tools has been changed. Now they allow you to modify equipment only up to level 5. The gradation of tools will remain the same: cheap, standard and advanced. Similar to parts, they can now also be obtained by completing events in the open world. I will be making a breakdown on how to obtain this tool as well with my parts breakdown video. Added bonus: the equipment maintenance window has been refined. This was done to harmonize with the new design of the upgrade window. Barter tree rework. Now onto the barter tree reworks. Many branches have received their endings in the form of high-tier guns at level 6 of the base. In addition, prices for various equipment were partially revised and new barter branches were created. There have been some items removed from the game at this time, but they are coming back in the second half of the attachments rework. So stay tuned for that update. As of this moment, the completed attachments and guns for this rework are assault rifles, machine guns, pistols, melee weapons, muzzles, grips, and laser sights. Future changes of a similar nature will affect the remaining branches of attachments and guns. Now onto the barter tree changes. Assault rifles and machine guns. The following assault rifle branches have been extended: the AS-VAL, AKM and HKG 3 lines, and the Limansk assault rifles barter tree weapons. The rework of barter branches could not avoid changes of positions and templates of some weapons. Therefore, the developers have given compensations for this, so this means you can now trade the following guns for better versions. The worn AKS-74U for the AKS-74. The AKS-74U for the AKS-74. The worn LL-85A1 for the M16A1. The AKS-74 for the AKS-74. The L-85A1 for the M16A2. The AKM for the AK-74. The DP for the AK-74. The worn AH-94 for the AH-94. The RPK-74 for the AKM. The old G3 for the AKM. The worn AS-VAL for the AKM Silence. The worn RPD for the RPD. The M16A3 for the M4A1 CQC. The worn Groza for the AS-VAL. The OT's 14 Groza for the AMB-17. And finally, the G3A1 plus the drum for the AK-15. Pistols. The following branches of pistols are formed: automatic pistols, heavy semi-automatic pistols, and last but not least, revolvers. The compensation for these weapons is as followed. You get the PB for the PM, the R92 for the PM, the Beretta 93R for the Walther P99, the Mauser C96 for the Beretta 92 FS, the Browning HI Power for the SW 1911, the Desert Eagle 19 for the Desert Eagle Mark 7, the SR1 Gyoza for the Glock 17. So, the devs have added a feature for some melee weapons called multiple target damage. The way this works is that normal and heavy strikes can deal damage to multiple targets at once. However, quick strikes will still only damage one target. Attachments. The attachments have been rebalanced and new branches have been created. There have been quite a few changes with the attachments, so this means that you will be compensated for any item you may lose or may be downgraded as a result of this update. I will add in the screenshots as there are quite a lot of compensations with the attachments. There is one compensation most players are confused about, and that is the mysterious token, but we just need to wait to see what we get for it. Balance and changes to the characteristics of weapons. The 9A91 has had its stopping power increased from 0 to 30. The Beretta 92 FS is now a veteran tier item. The damage has been increased from 42.6 to 54.6, and the minimal damage from 27.5 to 35.5. The Browning high power damage has been increased from 44.5 to 48.2, and the minimal damage from 28.2 to 30.7. The Colt Python damage has been increased from 130 to 148. And the minimal damage from 89.1 to 101.4. The Desert Eagle is now a master tier gun, and the damage has been increased from 94.6 to 117.5. And the minimal damage from 55.8 to 69.5. The Glock 17 has had its damage increase from 55 to 62.5, and the minimal damage from 32 to 36.4. The HKG 3A1 damage has decreased from 42.5 to 40.8, and the minimal damage from 33.2 to 31.8. The L85A1 is now veteran tier, and the damage has increased from 21.4 to 31, and the minimal damage from 18.6 to 27. The L86A1 is now veteran tier, and the damage has increased from 29.5 to 32.2, and the minimal damage from 22.5 to 24.4. The M16. A2 damage has decreased from 25.7 to 22.5, and the minimal damage from 21.5 to 18.8. The M16A3 has gone from veteran to novice, and the damage had been decreased from 27.2 to 20, and the minimal damage from 21.8 to 15.7. The Mauser C, 96 damage has been decreased from 44 to 39.5, and the minimal damage from 31.5 to 28.3. The SW 1911 is now a veteran tier weapon, and the damage has been increased from 55 to 70.8, and the minimal damage from 31.5 to 40.6. The Walther P99 is now a Stalker tier weapon, and the damage has increased from 32.5 to 43.2, and the minimal damage from 20 to 26.5. The AKM is now a Stalker tier weapon, and the damage has increased from 26.5 to 31, and the minimal damage from 19 to 22. The AKS-74's damage has been decreased from 24.5 to 22.5, and the minimal damage from 17.2 to 16. The AKS-74U's damage has been decreased from 18.1 to 17, and the minimal damage from 12.5 to 11.5. The AH-94's damage has been decreased from 27.5 to 27, and the minimal damage from 19.5 to 18.5. The AS-Val's damage has been increased from 32.4 to 38.5, and the minimal damage from 18.2 to 21.5. The first shot recoil multiplier has been decreased from 3 to 2.5. The base magazine size has been decreased from 25 to 20. The spread has decreased from 0.47 to 0.45. The additional hip spread has increased from 2.53 to 2.55. The hip spread limit has increased from 1.898 to 1.913. The stopping power has increased from 0 to 30. The ASH-12's damage has increased from 50.8 to 55, and the minimal damage from 34.5 to 37.4. The OT's 33 Pernach is now a master tier weapon, and the damage has increased from 31.5 to 43, and the minimal damage from 19 to 26. The OT's 14 Groza is now a veteran tier weapon, and the damage has been decreased from 40.5 to 37.5, and the minimal damage from 24 to 25.5. The base magazine size has been decreased from 25 to 20. The beginning of damage reduction has been increased from 8 to 10. The end of damage reduction has been increased from 46 to 58. The spread has been decreased from 0.47 to 0.45. The additional hip spread has been increased from 2.53 to 2.55. The hip spread limit has increased from 1.898 to 1.913. The recoil buildup has been decreased from 0.06 to 0.05. The first shot recoil multiplier has been decreased from 2.5 to 2, and the stopping power has been increased from 0 to 30. The Warren L85A1 is now a Stalker tier weapon, and the damage has increased from 18.1 to 26.2, and the minimal damage from 15.8 to 22.7. The RPK-74 is now a veteran tier weapon, and the damage has been increased from 26.3 to 35.1, and the minimal damage from 19.5 to 26. The RS-12's damage has been increased from 133 to 150, and the minimal damage from 91.1 to 102. The TT's damage has been increased from 37.6 to 41, and the minimal damage from 25.8 to 28.1. The Fort 12 is now a Stalker tier weapon, and the damage has been increased from 34.4 to 45.5, and the minimal damage from 23.6 to 31.2. The CR380's damage has been increased from 82.5 to 90, and the minimal damage from 82.5 to 90. Now on to the changes in the characteristics of melee weapons. The 6x9 knife is now a novice tier weapon. The movement speed has decreased from 5 to 4%. The quick strike has been decreased from 33 to 29. The fast strike has been decreased from 41 to 36. The minimum strong strike has been decreased from 82 to 72. The maximum strong strike has been decreased from 101 to 88, and the mutant damage has been decreased from 1.3 to 1.12. The hunter's knife is now a stalker tier weapon. The movement speed has increased from 4 to 5%. The minimum quick strike has increased from 29 to 32. The maximum quick strike has increased from 36 to 39. The minimum strong strike has increased from 72 to 79. The maximum strong strike has increased from 88 to 96. The mutant damage has increased from 1.12 to 1.36. The Ka-Bar BKR 3 tactical knife is now a stalker tier weapon. The movement speed has been decreased from 5.5 to 4.5. The minimum quick strike has been decreased from 39 to 33. The maximum fast strike has been decreased from 52 to 44. The minimum strong strike has been decreased from 85 to 73. The maximum strong strike has been decreased from 115 to 98. The back damage has been decreased from 1.43 to 1.42, and the mutant damage has been increased from 1.19 to 1.39. The hunter's machete is now a veteran weapon, and the movement speed has been increased from 4.5 to 5.5. The minimum quick strike has been increased from 33 to 39. The maximum quick strike has been increased from 44 to 52. The minimum strong strike has been increased from 73 to 85. The maximum strong strike has been increased from 98 to 115. The back damage has been increased from 1.42 to 1.43, and the mutant damage has been increased from 1.39 to 1.19. The Survival SP8 Ontario machete is now a veteran tier weapon. The movement speed has been increased from 4.5 to 5.5. The minimum quick strike has been increased from 33 to 41. The maximum fast strike has been increased from 44 to 55. The minimum strong strike has been increased from 73 to 91. The maximum strong strike has been increased from 98 to 122. Back damage has been decreased from 1.42 to 1.41, and the mutant damage has been increased from 1.39 to 1.12. The Kukri is now a master tier weapon, and the movement speed has been increased from 5.5 to 6.5. The minimum quick strike has been increased from 43 to 48. The maximum fast strike has been increased from 58 to 64. The minimum strong strike has been increased from 85 to 95. The maximum strong strike has been increased from 115 to 128, and the mutant damage has been increased from 1.19 to 1.47. Now onto the armor balance changes. The Scat 9M has had its bullet resistance increased from 182 to 187, and the carrying weight has increased from 18 to 26. The Bullet M has had its bullet resistance increased from 158 to 163, and its carrying weight from 12 to 18. The Vanguard armored suit has had its bullet resistance increased from 225 to 231. The explosion protection has been increased from 170 to 175. The laceration protection has been increased from 271 to 281. The radiation protection has been decreased from 240 to 200. The thermal protection has been decreased from 120 to 100. The bio-infection protection has been decreased from 240 to 200. The psi emission protection has been decreased from 220 to 200. The Kim X Atlas carrying weight has been increased from 12 to 22. The resistance to electricity has been increased from 425 to 638. The resistance to fire has been increased from 425 to 638. The resistance to chemicals has been increased from 425 to 638, and the compatible backpacks have been changed from lightweight backpacks to any backpack. The Severe jumpsuit's carrying weight has been increased from 9 to 17, and the resistance to electricity has been increased from 400 to 600. The resistance to fire has been increased from 400 to 600. The resistance to chemicals has been increased from 400 to 600. Warren Seaver has had its carrying weight increased from 9 to 14. The resistance to electricity has increased from 350 to 525. The resistance to fire has increased from 350 to 525. The resistance to chemicals has increased from 350 to 525. Now on to some minor fixes that were done. Replaced the temporary model of the Chieftain Super Heavy Armoured Suit. Fixed a bug where it was possible to hide a weapon from your hands. Fixed resetting the scale of the minimap when switching between locations. Fixed the damage modifier for structures for sledgehammers. Fixed the inability to collect some spare parts in one stack. Thank you all for staying till the end. I hope the Force is with you all, and I will catch you in the next video. And if you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe and share.
General Kenobi!